Hey guys, Dan here. Today we'll look at the product for those that are not so fortunate enough to have a permanent space for their rig, the Next Level Racing GTLite Pro. First of all, the usual disclaimer. This rig was provided by Next Level Racing for this review. They do not get to see the video before it's posted, and all the opinions are my own. What we have here is an entry-level GT-style cockpit that is foldable for 299 euros, including taxes. The build quality for 300 euros seems very nice. It's definitely not as toyish as you would expect for this price, and putting it together was no problem. Took me maybe like half an hour. And the cool thing about this rig is if you're done racing and you cannot have this in a permanent spot in your apartment, you can fold it together and put it away. The seat feels very comfortable. It's very breathable. It's probably more breathable than most seats that I've tried. I mean, obviously the Eau Rouge active cooled seat that I use on my main rig is more breathable, but this is definitely very nice. You can drive for hours in this with minor sweating, and it does have several padded elements, so it is definitely comfortable, I would say. You can also recline the seat in 3 different positions. I'm using the middle here right now, but you can make it more like laying in the rig or a little bit more upright. That's obviously personal preference. And getting in and out of the rig is relatively easy. Here you can't properly see it, but on the right side there's a clamp that I can open, and then basically this whole thing can swivel away to the side. You can get in and close it again. But to be honest, what I've been using is I'll just get in and out of the rig like this. That's not a big problem. And getting in also feels more immersive, feels like climbing into an F1 car. So it's nice that you can open this, but getting in and out is not that big of a deal. The folding is relatively easy. It takes maybe 1 or 2 minutes to set this up or put this away. And it does not get super compact, but you can definitely put this away in a closet or in the corner of your room, and then it's not in the way. The whole rig also has wheels that you can use to slide it out of the way. I probably would get slightly annoyed if I had to set this up every time I want to race. But then again, I'm in the fortunate situation that I have a separate room for my sim racing hobby, so I can have a permanent rig. But if you can't, then I think this is an absolutely great solution. One thing I do want to mention here is the Coffee Racer table rigs that also are foldable and can be put away, but those are basically only a pedal and wheel stand and not a full rig solution. They are also a bit more expensive. They do look a bit better. You can integrate this into your living room actually. But for a full foldable cockpit, I think this is really good. The wheel deck is adjustable in angle. There's a little screw here on the bottom. If I loosen that, I can adjust the angle here. You cannot really individually adjust the gap to your body. You can adjust the angle of this whole assembly here. You can basically put it a little bit higher, a little bit further away. And obviously if you put it higher, it also comes closer to you. This position here for me is definitely good. I would have loved to have the wheelbase a little bit closer to me, but you can always add a spacer to your base or maybe mount it just with the mounting holes that are a little bit closer to me. There are options, but obviously it's not as flexible as in an aluminum rig. The wheel deck also has pre-drilled holes for basically any wheelbase. I had no issues to mount the Simagic Alpha Mini here on this, but even if you do not have a fitting hole for your wheelbase, you can just drill your own holes. It is marketed to suit wheelbases up to 13 Newton meters. This Alpha Mini is 10 Newton meters according to Simagic, but I think it's actually more. I measured it at 13 point something, and it's been holding up very well. I did run this with full force feedback, and obviously there's flex, as you can see here, but it's not really to a point where it really distracts you from driving. The pedal deck are 2 rails that you can move, so the gap to the pedals is adjustable luckily. I would recommend, if you get this, and get some pedals with an integrated heel rest, because if you mount your pedals to those 2 rails and then you would have to rest your foot on the ground, then the gap to the pedals is just too big. So definitely make sure you get something with a heel rest, otherwise your feet will basically float in the air while you're trying to operate the pedals. Also, one thing that I also would recommend with pedals is get some way you can adjust the pedal angle, because this is now pretty much sitting flat on the floor. You can angle the whole front, but I think in the wrong direction. You can basically angle it upwards, and then the angle becomes even steeper on the pedal. So make sure you get something where you can adjust the angle of the whole pedal arm to make it more comfortable, because it's pretty much flat on the floor. Then what you also get in the box is this adjustable shifter or handbrake mount. You can basically mount this either to the left side or on the right side. So you have several options here. I wish you could buy these separately and then maybe transform this into a flight deck as well, but I think they have a flight simulation version of this, which probably comes with 2 of these. I quickly tried it out. It's sturdy enough. It's basically in line with the whole rig. Like, there is some flex, but it's not a deal breaker. I think the most interesting part is probably the driving experience, so I would say we'll quickly drive a few meters here. We are in the Cadillac hypercar, driving around Road Atlanta. I can only see half of the track because I have my script on the left side of the monitor hidden. But while driving, you see there definitely is some flex. And we are using 100% force feedback on the base right now. I think the rig like this sits in between what you get with an aluminum rig and just a pedal or wheel stand. And I've done sessions like 2 or 3 hours in this without feeling uncomfortable. I think the seat, obviously it's not super sturdy, but it's comfortable. And yeah, a proper racing seat like the Next Level Racing ES1, for example, definitely is more comfortable. It's hard to drive if you only see half of the track, but that seat also costs more than this whole rig. I think that seat is 450 euros, whereas this complete package is 300 euros. And this is much better than just clamping your wheel to the desk and having your office chair that rolls backwards when you brake. Having something where you can mount your wheelbase to, where you can mount your pedals to, and having everything in the same position without having to worry that you roll backwards in the braking zones is so much worth it. I mean, now that I drive here, you see that the wheelbase, it's flexing. But it's not to a point where it really distracts you from the whole driving experience. And I think for a price of 300 euros for the whole thing, this is acceptable. So to sum it up, I think Next Level Racing did a great job here. Of course, this is not as rigid as an aluminum rig can be, but that's also not really the point here. If you want a nice way to mount your steering wheel and your pedals in a fixed position without breaking the bank and sacrificing some rigidity for gaining the flexibility to just fold this away and put it somewhere, then I think this is a very good option for you. Especially if you do not have the space to put a dedicated sim racing rig somewhere and have it there all the time, and this is really great. I mean, obviously there are downsides, especially when it comes to flex of the whole thing, but it's still indefinitely better than having no possibility to mount your rig and having to use your chair and desk. I've raced with a G27 for probably 10 years, clamped to my IKEA desk and then have a little box that holds the pedals in place. And I wish I had something like that I could put away and mount my gear to. That would have been so much better than what I've been doing back then. And yeah, if you do go the DIY way with a cheap aluminum rig and maybe a car seat from the junkyard, you can probably match the price of this, maybe slightly above that, and it will be more rigid. But obviously you will have to get creative. You need to source the parts, and you will need the space for it. And with the ability of this to just fold it away, put it somewhere else, can make the difference for some people to either have a rig or not have a rig. And I can just highly recommend to get a rig, even if it's something cheaper and not as sturdy as this, because that makes such a big difference. But yeah, that's already pretty much it for this review. If you found it helpful, maybe hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to not miss any future videos. If you do have any questions, feel free to either join the Discord, ask there, or just leave a comment down below. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.